If you're a frequent P&W Haunts and Homicides listener, you probably already know we're Birdie ambassadors.
We wanted to take a quick moment to tell you a little bit more about this awesome product.
Birdie is the modern personal safety alarm made for women by women.
In a situation where you feel threatened or unsafe, you can simply activate Birdie's loud siren and flashing light to create a diversion.
Birdie is perfect to carry anytime because the device is lightweight and comes in a variety of colors.
So important. Use our ambassador link and coupon code P&W Haunts and Homicides to receive 10% off your purchase. Like our social media handles, the coupon code is all spelled out, no special characters.
You can find the link and promo code in our show notes or P&W Haunts and Homicides link tree. Have a safe-ass day!
As indie podcasters, we love to show our support of other awesome shows. So stay tuned for the promo we've got to share with you this week.
Let's show them some love. You can find their info in our show notes.
Spooky Spouses, a podcast about ghosts and stuff. Are you interested in the paranormal?
And then all of a sudden we hear this. Down a hallway, when there's no one else there, I would go, maybe there's a ghost farting around these halls.
Intelligent conversations?
We don't know a lot.
We don't at all, and we never claim to.
Furbies?
Do these things so you could essentially kiss the Furby, but you're really kissing your ghost partner.
Furbies again a little bit?
I don't know
what you want your Furby for,
it's
but...
a kiss.
Biting people?
Do you like a food enough to bite middle schoolers for it?
No. Do you?
Mystery boxes?
A box full of human heads was reportedly stolen from a medical supply truck in Denver on Thursday.
Find the Spooky Spouses wherever you get your podcasts. Excuse me.
You guys, we're back! And don't worry, we did get more wine.
Well, of course. Hi, Cassie.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, creepy people.
Hello out there.
Hello. What do we call this operation again?
P&W turkeys and gravies.
Okay, well, just so there's no confusion, this is P&W Haunts and Homicides.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. I'm just real hungry.
Oh my God. Me too. That half-eaten bag of Doritos is calling my name. She knows where I live.
That's not Thanksgiving food.
No, but it literally doesn't matter. Like the dogs over there. They're starting to look pretty tasty.
She'll put anything in her mouth.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
So what's up?
Well, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I cooked up some interesting cases to cover. Get it?
Cooked.
Cooked up. Okay.
Did everyone get the dad joke?
I've been working on this for hours.
I believe it.
Like a few.
Just a couple.
Only a few. It's fine. We've already discussed that sleep is dead to me.
I know. I just asked you if you ever slept. And she said no.
Not really. It's not one of my favorite pastimes. So,
Crazy.
yeah, pretty much. Anyway, I'm bringing you some extra content this week to celebrate Turkey Day.
Ooh.
So I hope you're wearing something with an elastic waistband in preparation for this true crime feast.
Oh. So this is true crime
Yeah.
that we're going to talk about, not gravy.
Not gravy. No. There may be gravy tangentially involved. She said as if she hadn't researched the case.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. There's no gravy involved,
okay.
so it's
Okay,
fine.
good.
Everybody's fine.
I'm like,
The gravy is fine.
You've already ruined Gilmore Girls. What else did you ruin? You ruined something else for me. Don't ruin gravy.
She can't even keep track. All she knows is that she's angry in my general direction.
I will bring up Gilmore Girls every single episode and how pissed I am at you.
Okay. That's fine.
Till the end of time.
Oh my goodness. In all seriousness, I really think these cases are important, but I don't want to give up all of the juicy details just yet.
Is this ever going to end? It's like my whole episode.
Oh boy. Which is funny you should mention that, because my next sentence. With that, I think we'll dive right in.
Perfect. Chow down.
Chow down.
Let's go.
Today we travel back to November of 2009, when Nancy Bergeson's body was found in her home.
No.
I know, I said we were diving right in.
Okay.
Okay. Now, one thing that's a little bit frustrating here is that if you are looking hard at the events on the timeline, just from one article to the next, you might notice some inconsistencies in the dates provided.
Ooh, that's not good.
No, it's not great, because it's not an old-timey case where we kind of generally let those things slide a little bit.
I don't know. 2009 is kind of old-timey.
Jesus. As if I didn't feel old enough.
I mean, 2020 was 20 years long.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
if you're doing that math.
Yeah. 2020, the longest decade ever.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, sometimes, as regrettable as it might be, in some instances, there may be a simple typo, or the up-to-the-minute news reporting may not always be totally accurate. Heck, even if you were listening to an old-school police scanner, that wouldn't necessarily guarantee 100% accuracy, because sometimes as an investigation or a particular situation develops, details kind of unwind and slowly become a little bit clearer. That being said, for certain events such as the date of Nancy's death versus the discovery of her body, I had to be a little bit cautious about looking for multiple articles or kind of going to the old standbys, more reputable source material. Whenever possible with this or any other case, I'm just always looking to verify the important names, dates, places through more than one source, ideally, just because if only one source has a specific detail, it could be wrong.
Yeah.
But if you see it reported over and over, generally, hopefully your odds are better that that's accurate.
Yeah. Yeah, you're really good about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of something that I got into the habit of with academic writing.
Academic writing.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm going to call it academic writing because they sure as hell made me pay for those classes.
That's
true. Honestly, we're not going to make the calendar our main focus, but I just wanted to point out that there could be some aspects of the timeline that I sort of made a choice to maybe make it a little bit more general than I normally like. But wherever I can, I'm going to elaborate on the available details. It's frustrating because it is, a more modern day case. And so it feels a little bit odd to just speak in generalities of like, November 2009. Well, what day? What time was it?
Yeah.
I want to tell you that.
Me too. I was going to ask.
She's like, that was my next question. But I take these cases seriously. I just want everyone who listens to know that, even if we make jokes. Because listen, I was raised by sarcastic Catholics on both sides. So I had no chance. We literally don't know how to communicate any other way.
I get it.
Oh. Now, back to Nancy. She was a Portland resident and a federal criminal defense lawyer.
Oh.
Yeah. There. See? I elaborated on one thing for sure already.
Good job.
Yeah. Some of the information related to this case I began to gather might be slightly more challenging to locate, verify, and actually nail down just because of her job.
Oh, okay.
All right, you've been warned, so we should talk more about the discovery of Nancy's passing, of her death. Because you see, initially, it was believed Nancy had died due to natural causes.
Okay.
So, not finding any signs that the death was of a suspicious nature, the police lost crucial time and also likely critical evidence from the scene. Because duh, she was absolutely murdered. Because, guys, this is not a show where we typically talk about deaths that occur naturally.
No.
Just saying.
Not usually.
Yeah. Thought I'd mention that just in case you happen to sit down in the wrong lecture hall, though. You're like, what? We're talking about murder? In fairness, it was widely reported that without careful examination, Nancy's death looked to be from natural causes. So that's good because we're not stumbling into a scene that looks horrific.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
There weren't any obvious signs of trauma or injury to her body. There were literally, from reports, no noticeable marks of any kind. Nothing of the sort to maybe indicate that she had been engaged in a struggle, as you might expect. As a result, Nancy Bergeson's body was actually removed before detectives arrived, which is kind of interesting because it does make you think, well, why are there detectives showing up if it doesn't seem suspicious?
Yeah.
Okay. Authorities had only been alerted to anything amiss in the home when a neighbor girl looked through a window and saw Nancy Bergeson lying face down on the floor of her dining room.
Oh,
Yeah.
the poor neighbor girl.
I know. Well, and here's the thing. I don't know if I would assume, found out later that her neighbor had been murdered, but because it wasn't, a bloody or gruesome scene,
Yeah.
Maybe she just thought, oh no, she fell, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a little, hopefully less traumatizing.
Oh.
Yeah. Eek. And after all, there weren't even any signs of forced entry to the home. That's the clincher we're all used to hearing about on true crime TV shows and documentaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there's no forced entry, it's like suicide,
Yeah.
natural causes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few of those that are being reopened recently where it's like, guys, what?
Because no one can just get murdered by someone that they know that they let in or
Exactly.
accidentally left a
Right.
door unlocked or...
No, it makes far more sense that she fell on a knife repeatedly
Yeah.
and died from blood loss
Totally.
eventually.
Totally.
Totally tracks.
Because no one came in.
Yeah. I mean, no forced entry. So that solves it. Nancy had been discovered in her living room, but it wasn't until an autopsy was performed that a more sinister story would begin to emerge. She had been strangled to death with a soft object,
Oh.
which sounds a little bizarre, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, at least for a strangling victim at first blush, I don't know, that particular wording. It wasn't something I'd come across before, but think scarf in this case.
That's what I was thinking.
One of the saddest aspects of this case was that Nancy had been killed just a few short days prior to her birthday.
Oh,
Yeah, at the age of 57.
wow.
Yeah. She was born November 30th of 1951 and honestly seemed the type from everything I read to be the type of person who would have absolutely thrived in her 60s had she made it that far.
Oh,
Because obviously she has like a very serious grown-up job, a meaningful career, you know. Just, I hate it.
no, I hate it too.
I hate it, and I also don't like it.
Why are you telling us about it?
Well, I just think the timing of this case. This is a crime that was committed over the Thanksgiving holiday weekend, and her birthday falls right after the holiday weekend, and I was like, no freaking way. I stumbled upon this case and was like, well, I guess we could talk about it for Turkey Day.
No,
Yeah.
thanks for the gift.
You're so welcome. I forgot to put the bow. Another sad fact in the case coming right at you, though it should come as no surprise, obviously. Who are you talking to? Many believed because it wasn't initially investigated as a murder, given there appeared to be nothing suspicious about the circumstances surrounding her death, that it might go unsolved forever.
I don't like that.
No, no one does. Right about now, you're probably wondering why the hell I would pick such a sad unsolved case going into the holidays and cursing me under your breath. Admit it just a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I've been shaking my head since you started the sentence.
Yeah. Truth be told, that may have ended up being the case if it weren't for the overly confident jailhouse confession of a complete and total prick named Justin Joseph Panic.
Panic.
Yeah, I'm not totally positive that it isn't pronounced Panek or something like that, but what ifs.
I like panic.
Yeah. We love it when their own arrogance gets them caught, though, too, don't we?
Yeah.
Hubris, my friend. It will not serve you well as a criminal. But I guess he knows that now. Too little, too late.
Oh boy.
A covert jailhouse recording caught Justin bragging about his involvement in the crime to another inmate.
They have recordings in jail?
Right? Okay, so that was something that I immediately, what? I have questions.
Yeah.
So this we do have some kind of details about. Now, you might be tempted to scold him saying, don't you know your calls are being recorded? But as stated, this was a confession made to another inmate, and they're not usually placing calls to each other on the inside from the inside.
Yeah.
Which would be the way that a lot of these guys get caught, right? When we're talking about something that was recorded from jail.
Yeah.
No. Of course, this was a much needed boon to a case that was really super unintentionally botched at the beginning. They really didn't mean to.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, shucks. Those are definitely defensive wounds and bruising and whoopsie daisy.
We just missed it.
Well, it really didn't develop until a little bit of time had elapsed,
Okay.
I think is kind of the issue. Some of that stuff doesn't show up immediately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they found her like really fast?
I think that they did find her relatively quickly.
Wow.
And probably that's due to it being a holiday weekend and, you know, people are either A, out and about, or, you know, they're at home on the holiday and they're noticing people's coming and going. I don't.
Looking in people's windows,
Right.
apparently.
Okay. So really what happened here is, I don't know if they made him wear a wire or if they used a recording device in some other form or fashion, but it wasn't his phone calls.
Okay.
Okay. So this is probably not a remotely practical suggestion at all, but this case really made me think. I don't know. maybe when people die, just always assume murder.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah. And
Why
then,
don't they do that?
Yeah. And then work backwards to prove otherwise.
Yeah.
Seems like the safest approach, but what do I know?
Kind of like you're guilty until you're proven innocent. You're murdered until you're proven not.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we have the resources for that, but
whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So enough armchair quarterbacking. It just sucks when we see cases get shortchanged by totally avoidable mistakes. And it's like, oof.
Yeah.
And, they wouldn't mean to botch this case. This is not someone that her murder is going to go unnoticed because of her high profile career.
Oh, yeah.
Eek.
That's right.
The admission in this case came shortly before another major holiday, which begs the question, why is this guy hell-bent on making the holidays so dark and not in the totally awesome, weird, or witchy way?
Yeah. What the hell, man? You're killing everyone's vibe.
Yeah. Majorly. On December 15th of 2016, Justin apparently spontaneously admitted to his role in the homicide when having a conversation at the Washington County Jail with another inmate. At the time, he was actually in custody on unrelated robbery charges. So in case you were wondering, he is definitely a dickhead every which way we slice it.
Okay, got it.
According to Justin, he snuck into Nancy's home through an open door with a friend, explaining how there were no signs of forced entry, at least in theory, assuming that we believe that, and it's actually true.
Okay.
The two were rifling through her belongings when she appeared out of nowhere in her own home.
How dare she?
I know. The nerve of some people sneaking up on their uninvited guests. Am I right?
Ugh.
Apparently, they'd been unaware that she was at home at the time, which kind of seems like robbery 101, but whatever. So, unfortunately, their carelessness took a simple ransacking on what should have been a lovely holiday weekend up a couple thousand notches to homicide.
Just leave.
It's literally my worst nightmare to walk in one day and find somebody like actively robbing me and like, oh, great. Now I am murdered.
Right. Because you would just be like, take whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, just go.
Yeah.
Ugh, that's so sad.
I don't know. It kind of depends though. Like, are they reaching for my crystals? Because then maybe that explains how I get murdered.
Maybe.
Justin stated that his friend had reacted by choking her to death. This friend wasn't named in this conversation, other than by Justin referring to him as his homeboy, which isn't even really a nickname. It's basically the robbery team equivalent of, hey, you, at least in my mind. There was one person that Justin did manage to specifically name, though, and that's pretty critical, even though it wasn't right on the money.
Okay.
He said the owner of the home, the woman that was killed, was a federal public defender named Nancy Bergstrom.
Okay.
I mean, kind of close, but no cigar.
What's her actual name?
Nancy Bergeson.
Okay.
So, I mean, you can see, like,
yeah,
that would be an easy mistake to make. And he certainly made plenty. But anyway, bravo for getting her last name wrong, which on second thoughts, maybe I'd give him actually a couple hundred of those cancer sticks to light up and let nature take its course.
Yeah.
Maybe all of the scars, actually.
All of them. Mm-hmm.
Justin literally couldn't help himself, though, spilling every possible incriminating detail he could recall.
He sounds like a genius.
I'm sure his Mensa membership card is in the mail. So, one of the details, like the fact that Portland detectives had contacted his parents shortly after the discovery of Nancy's body and said they wanted to talk to their son about the case. So, literally just connecting himself, even in stupid ways like that, just left and right. I just read that and was like, cool story, bro. LOL. JK, you're the worst.
Wow.
And then I logged back into AIM. Justin, or Oakland, as some call him, owing to the time he spent living in the California city, did return to speak with detectives in Portland.
Okay.
Back then, he did admit to having broken into Nancy's home, but he stated that break-in had occurred on a different day than that of her killing.
Okay. So she's just really unlucky.
Yeah.
Okay.
Soup's unlucky.
Got it.
Neither of the men involved were charged at the time. But clearly the dominoes are beginning to fall. Because, like, who admits to that? Like, do you really think they're not gonna? I can't.
People without a Mensa membership.
It's in the mail. Detectives didn't have much to go on in their pursuit of the duplicitous dumbass duo.
I like that.
Which I think shall be the title of this episode.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Y'all heard it in the making.
Woo! In the absence of an obvious motive or clear forensic evidence tying them to the crime, right?
Yeah.
Ew. As alluded to earlier, for years, the case had remained unsolved. In fact, we were working on nearly a decade, which is not a great look.
Wow.
They eventually asked cold case and retired detectives to take a look at the case in 2012. Sometimes a new set of eyes will pick up on the very detail that was previously missed. Sure enough, investigators discovered an unidentified person's DNA among the evidence. This, coupled with that confession that they had from Dum Dum, that would be presented later, that's enough to heat up the case.
Yeah.
Oh, so hot right now.
Preheating.
Yes. Still, it made sense to proceed cautiously. Police and prosecutors in Multnomah County would quietly file charges against Justin for first-degree burglary on September 18th of 2017. So literally the longest,
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Wow.
This was, of course, in reference to his unlawful entry to Nancy Bergeson's home. Remember, that was allegedly totes, not on the date of her death, obviously.
No.
No.
Sure wasn't.
The Multnomah County Circuit Judge, seriously, say that literally once correctly, let alone like 3 times fast.
Multnomah County Circuit Judge?
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so you did it once. Okay, just say it 3 times fast.
I didn't even have to read it.
Oh, MG. Why? Why are you coming for me today? Anyways, he was handling the case. Eric J. Bergstrom.
Oh.
Interesting.
Okay.
Not Nancy's last name, unless you ask the dude who confessed to the robbery and her killing.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, I would be surprised if the judge didn't kind of take that personally.
That's kind of weird.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, that is fucking freaky. Freaky Friday.
Totally.
So he sealed all the records and audio recordings related to the case. The proceedings may have been largely at a snail's pace, but progress was being made. At the very least, they could keep one half of the duo behind bars. So they did this, and I felt like I had to go into it a little bit because it's not necessarily, I don't know if this will click unless you kind of have it explained. It didn't make sense to me at first. I'm like, why was it such a secret?
Okay.
They basically didn't have enough to arrest and hold both of them for murder. They were like, well, we can keep him behind bars for the robbery. He's like actively admitted to it.
Okay.
So we're going to keep that secret, though, so that the other dum-dum doesn't get wise to our intentions.
So there really was another guy?
Yep.
I literally thought he was just making that up.
Right?
Like, oh yeah, my homeboy.
Yeah,
Totally.
my homeboy. No, homeboy is very, very real.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shocked.
I know. I am shooketh. On Friday, January 19th of 2019, a total bombshell, police arrested Christopher Alexander Williamson, charging him with 1 count of murder. And listen, I'm going to be covering another similar last name in the Patreon bonus later today. So I'm just saying like Williamson, Williams, they're super common last names, but like, I don't know. Like, do you want to take the chance? I don't know. Like, I'm avoiding them.
Okay.
So
Sounds good. Sorry if that's your last name.
could be totally unrelated, but also they may just all be murderers. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Let us know.
But guess what, you guys? They figured out who the mysterious homeboy was. Around the time of the arrest of the suspects, the family made the following statement. Even though it has been 9 years, Nancy continues to have a tremendous presence and positive influence in the lives of many people. Her friends and family appreciate the tenacious work of law enforcement. For the first time in many years, we carry a hope that there will be answers and justice.
Aww.
I know, I thought that was really, like, well said.
Yeah.
Well put.
Yeah.
Panic, Mr. Panic Button, Jodie Foster, was 18 at the time of Bergeson's killing, and Williamson was 19. But being young and dumb is obviously not a good defense in any legal matter, least of all in the case of a senseless murder.
Yeah.
Eventually, with the help of Judge Bergstrom, a plea deal and settlement was negotiated. Sentencing occurred on January 24th, just 6 days after the infamous homeboy was arrested. But let's talk about Justin real quick first. He was sentenced to 5 years and 10 months for 2 2016 robberies in Tigard. At the time, he already had prior convictions for possession of meth and theft, as well as resisting arrest. We all make mistakes, but I think that we get a little bit of perspective by considering what can be heard on another portion of a prison recording stating, "This is for Oakland," and to empty the clip in her.
My God. Wow.
Saying he wanted her face blown off.
Why? That's so extreme.
Yeah. That was actually about a surviving witness related to the robbery charges.
Ugh.
He's a seriously violent dude.
Icky.
Not nice.
No.
Christopher Alexander Williamson, aka Homeboy, would end up pleading guilty to first-degree manslaughter and first-degree burglary. According to the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office, Williamson's life expectancy was less than 10 years due to a genetic disorder. In fact, he had been arrested at a kidney center in Tualatin where he received dialysis.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now, I didn't come across anything that indicated he had been released, at least in my research. But that happens. I mean, during COVID, we saw that far more frequently than probably some of us are comfortable with.
Yeah. Oh.
We've received updates from listeners in those instances before, like in the case of Dwayne Samples, way back from episode 10.
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple of people that reached out to us on this one. It turns out that Do Nothing Good Dwayne was eventually released.
I hate that.
I know. And obviously cases like Richard Gilmore's highlight the many ways that frightening possibility can sometimes become a horrifying reality. Yeah. So if you stumble upon or are aware of any updates or details in a case that we've already talked about, please let us know. Please.
We don't mind.
Yeah, and I'm not always great about kind of keeping track of some of these because I don't know, the audacity of this gal just thinking that, once they're sent to prison for like a life sentence, that might, actually be for the duration of their life.
How dare you think that?
I know. Like I said in the beginning of this episode, sometimes we don't find every last detail in our research or there's conflicting information. If you happen to have personal knowledge through one means or another of a case, help a girl out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Girls? Me
Girls,
too.
Guys, all the people.
If I get any ghost facts wrong,
right?
Feel free.
And some of those, I guess, can sometimes be a matter of opinion, but
yeah.
Also, maybe that's just another version of the story that we need to tell, too.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. If Homeboy Williamson should survive his sentence, he also received 3 years of post-prison supervision.
Okay.
And was ordered to pay $4,857.93 in restitution to be applied to the cost of Bergeson's funeral.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was previously covered by the state's Crime Victims Compensation Fund.
That's very awesome.
Yeah. So, something for him to look forward to.
Yeah.
If he happens to outlive that genetic disorder and his prison sentence.
Normally I'd be like, oh, yeah, like, beat that, but not in this case.
Yeah. I have to say, I'm not feeling like I kind of want the disease to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. In memory of Nancy Bergeson, the Oregon Criminal Defense Lawyers Association created the Nancy Bergeson Ardent Advocate Lecture Series. The OCDLA stated Nancy Bergeson was a career-long public defender whose legal acumen was matched only by her uncanny ability to empathize with her clients.
Aww.
She articulated her client's position to a jury or judge as if it was Nancy herself on trial for her life.
Oh. So she was like a really good person.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, and she was, well, I'll let her daughter say it. Her daughter echoed some hauntingly similar sentiments when she has spoken publicly about her mother and her untimely death. And basically, the point that her daughter made was that it's so tragic that somebody who ultimately was responsible for defending criminals then is murdered like this. And just, I mean, I don't...
Yeah. Wow.
Somebody call Alanis.
Oh.
We'll include the link about the lecture series in our Pastebin for our sources, which you can find in the show notes. In the spirit of giving thanks, I have a little bit of a mini bonus as a surprise. And while we may have gotten answers in the first case, I'm about to tell you about another that I think maybe we can still look forward to answers for. Maybe someday there will be. I know for a fact that I came across stories from people who still hold out hope for a resolution. And because I'm a sucker for a theme, this is another crime that took place over what should have been a pleasant Thanksgiving weekend.
Ooh.
Back in 2002, Joe and Evangeline Britt were hosting a gathering in their home. They lived at 1018 South 74th Street in Tacoma, Washington. Many of the major news outlets have reported 75th Street. but I'm going with the address of record according to the most recent and official record I could find.
Okay.
Just a heads up in case you come across that. It was maddening. I saw both addresses reported all over the place.
Maybe they had an address change.
Yeah,
that
I
happens.
don't know. Like, it's very strange. I looked at the map and I was like, I'm pretty sure the cops didn't fuck this up in a recent press release. And I'm pretty sure Google Maps isn't also wrong.
Okay.
So,
I believe you.
yeah. That night, a group of about 25 people lingered well after the holiday feast, enjoying each other's company, playing games, and watching movies.
Aw.
I know, they were watching Men in Black 2.
No. That's a big party.
Right? That's a good amount of people.
Mm-hmm.
On that fateful evening, shortly after 10 p.m., someone fired several shots right through the window just above where members of the family and some of their guests were seated.
Oh my God.
At the time, there had been about 10 to 12 people on the lower floor, and the remainder were on an upper floor of the home. 4 people in total were wounded that night with varying severity. When the dust cleared, 2 people would walk away injured, but sadly, there were also 2 fatalities.
No. Oh, that is so sad. And it's
I
like all
know.
your friends and family are together.
Literally on Thanksgiving.
Ugh.
Kimberly Riley, 19, and Jeremy Britt Bayenthong, 5.
No.
I know.
Why?
Both of these deaths are incredibly tragic. One, a child, which is always a bit gut-wrenching. But then Kimberly, well, we'll talk about her a bit more because she wasn't related to the host. And because she was a bit older, we're able to share a bit more about who she was. Don't worry, that does not at all mean that we're going to leave Jeremy out. Jeremy was the grandchild of the couple who'd hosted the party after all. I know.
That is just
In
so
your own
sad.
home.
Yeah.
Kimberly's brother was a family friend of the Brits, and when he'd been invited to the gathering, naturally the invite extended to his sister as well. Kimberly Carol Riley went by Kim and was actually originally from the state of Hawaii.
Oh.
Yeah. You're going to love this. It's Presh. She grew up in a small town named Volcano.
Oh, wow.
I know. I just thought that was such a cool name.
That is.
I only want to live in places that are named after really cool shit now.
I would never want to live in Volcano.
Yeah,
I'm
probably not that one.
no, terrified of volcanoes.
Yeah, me too. So she grew up in Volcano with her older brother, James. She attended Waiakea. I think I'm saying that right. I've looked at some of the pronunciation guides for the Hawaiian ones that I didn't already know. I think I nailed it.
I believe you.
She attended Waiakea High School before moving on to college after graduation. She spent her freshman year of college at the University of Hawaii, Hilo, before moving to the mainland and attending the University of Washington, where she would decide to pursue a career in accounting. The city life seemed to make her a little bit anxious at first.
I could see that.
Yeah, college town is definitely a little bit more bustling than a tiny little town on an island.
Yeah.
The city life seemed to make her a bit anxious at first, but she proved to be a driven, diligent, and motivated student. She joined the Hawaiian Club and spent much of her time with her older brother, James, because he was basically the only person that she knew there. She was an animal lover that was interested in studying veterinary medicine when she was a bit younger. So she kind of shifted.
Aw, same girl.
I know. But she even volunteered at a vet clinic when she was a high school student.
Wow.
Yeah. And apparently she coerced her parents into some pet adoptions. Same girl, same.
Can we keep them, please?
Kimberly's brother James loved working on cars, which was a common interest with the Britt household, hence the connection to the Britt family and young Jeremy. As promised, we're gonna circle back to the little dude in a sec.
Okay.
Kimberly would sadly succumb to the 2 gunshot wounds she had sustained, and before her parents could make it to the state of Washington, where she had been hospitalized following the shooting.
Oh, they were so far.
Yeah. What James would later realize is that their parents had come incredibly close to losing both of their children. He'd left the room just shortly before the shots were let loose.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Okay, little man's up.
Okay.
Jeremy was a quiet child who seemed really quite happy, though. Apparently, you don't have to be shouting it from the rooftops if you're happy. I'm not really sure what that's about. Unfortunately, because he was so young and really only just developing into his own as a person, we don't have a ton of background information about him, and it breaks my heart, but he doesn't have a lot of history. He's 5.
Yeah, he didn't get the chance.
No, exactly. He'd grown up about 30 miles away from the University of Washington, and he enjoyed riding his bike.
Mm.
Jeremy lived in the home with his grandparents, mother, and her boyfriend. He also had what I would quantify as incredibly pinchable cheeks.
Aww.
He was the first to pass away following the shooting, despite being rushed to a nearby children's hospital.
Oh, he's so little.
He's little. Obviously, this is hardly the only cold case in America. In fact, it's just one of about 160 that are on the books for the Tacoma Police Department.
Just the Tacoma.
Mm-hmm.
160?
Mm-hmm.
Unsolved murders?
Cold cases. Cold cases.
So that's worse?
Usually, I don't know how they've quantified it for this particular statistic, but yeah, that's more badder.
Ugh.
But let's not forget that there are the surviving family members and friends, including the 2 other victims wounded in what Tacoma police now are saying they believe was a gang-related shooting, despite the victims having absolutely no ties.
Ew.
Mm-hmm. Now, the area does have a sad history of gang violence. But other than that, I'm not sure what that theory might be based on, since the Britt home in particular was what had been described as a relatively quiet suburban area. These things can really happen anywhere. We should not fool ourselves that way, but generally, there are certain types of crimes that are more prevalent in different types of areas.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm passing along whatever I can, honestly, though, because who knows, like, what little tidbit leads to the next big break that solves the case, right? Because again, like, it's not really a spoiler alert, but it's unsolved.
Yeah.
The 2 individuals that were wounded but survived were Harmony and Jeff Spencer. They were the niece and nephew of the hosts.
Okay.
Harmony was holding Jeremy when the shooting started because he hadn't been feeling well that evening, which is incredibly heartbreaking, just knowing how much worse the night was about to get.
Oh, poor baby.
Harmony was hit in the arm, back, and stomach. Jeff Spencer had been hit in the foot, which on the surface seems like the lesser of the survivable injuries. But due to nerve damage, it would forever alter his ability to walk and the pattern of his gait.
Oh,
I know.
Were they young too?
I'm not sure exactly how old they were, but I believe they were pretty close in age, maybe a little bit older than Kimberly. It actually gets a little bit wilder, though.
More? Even
Yes.
more wilder?
More wilderer.
Ugh.
This was reportedly not the first shooting at their home.
At their home?
At this particular home.
The fuck?
While they were living there.
Wow.
On March 3rd, just 3 years prior, Joe had been at home with his wife when shots were fired. Police have either not determined or are possibly just holding back whether the two shootings were related. Maybe that's why they suspect the fatal shooting in 2002 was gang-related. Honestly, it's impossible for me to say, really, but if I were a betting woman, I'd probably go with that. I think that's more than likely the basis of their suggestion that this might have been gang-related.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Like, what is it about them and their house? Like,
Yeah. Who knows? Unfortunately, just that really kind of crazy set of circumstances did lead to a lot of people, saying things and kind of starting rumors and saying, just things that are really hurtful. If these are people that weren't involved in any sort of illicit activity, that's just, really,
yeah.
that's defamation. You're defaming these poor people who've lost loved ones. And even if they were, that doesn't mean that anybody in that house deserved to die. So, fucking stop that.
The children sure weren't involved.
Right. Exactly. Kimberly, we know, she's a college student. That wasn't a part of her MO as a human. And Jeremy, not so much.
Yeah.
People are garbage. We're going to link the video with the latest press release in the show notes. Actually, to more than one source on that. But I do have information I gathered prior to those updates. Truly, it gave me chills to have been looking at this case. I think going back even a couple of months ago is when I first started looking at it. And then suddenly, I'm like seeing it in the news. I mean, as it should be, obviously.
Yeah.
But I was like, that is really wild. But literally, you can't measure my excitement to have this case pop back up on the radar of just even local news outlets. As I was already planning to cover it, like literal metric fuck tons of excitement.
Yeah.
I'm so happy because I'd never heard of it. It's getting to a point where it's old enough that we got to make some progress here. So, keeping that in mind, a little bit of information because ultimately I'm sharing this even though it's kind of a short little bonus here because I hope one of you guys maybe will spread the word or you'll know something. I don't know. Be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let's sleuth.
Let's do it.
Witnesses saw a man in a puffy jacket running away from the home shortly after the shooting, as well as a suspicious vehicle. That vehicle has been described as a brown or other dark color, possibly a 70s or 80s Ford truck with a white canopy. So, not exactly just like a silver Honda.
Yeah.
Little bit more distinctive, in theory.
So why was it suspicious?
Honestly, I think it's marked out as being suspicious just because it's in the vicinity, it's late at night, and it's right there around the time that the assailant is fleeing.
Yeah. Okay. I could see that.
So-
and it's probably not like normally there. Like they know the neighbors and stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing about it is a suspicious vehicle doesn't necessarily mean it's a suspect's vehicle even.
Yeah.
That could just be a person of interest who happens to look super sus.
Got it.
Also that. Authorities believe the truck fled with lights off in the foggy conditions with the assailant inside.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's one theory. Quite a few have been posited, but I think that's kind of the leading one. It was unclear whether the truck was stolen or did in fact belong to those responsible for the shooting. So again, suspicious vehicle doesn't necessarily mean the owner is a, suspect. Number of ways that can play out. No one got a very good look at the shooter because it's 10 p.m. in November in Washington. It's pretty dark.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I strongly encourage you, in fact, implore you to take just a couple of minutes to watch the latest press release from Detective Julie Dyer. Her face is my face when you hear me in the cases and you can tell that I'm getting emotional.
Aww.
Yeah. I mean, that's not an easy job.
No.
Yeah.
I fucking couldn't do it.
Nope. Mm-mm. A $1,000 cash reward was offered for information leading to an arrest in the case by Crime Stoppers. I believe there's also an additional award. I don't know if that's still being offered at this time. I know at one point it was $25,000 that was being offered by law enforcement.
Wow.
So potentially up to $26,000. Also, just give the information that leads to an arrest because you should.
Yeah. I mean,
Don't be a dick.
the good feeling should be reward enough.
Right? I mean, in case it's not, there could be money. So do it. If you believe you have any information about the case, please call 1-800-222-TIPS. And of course, we'll include that in the show notes as well.
Okay, just to be clear, it's 222 TIPS with a P, not tits with a T.
That is correct.
Okay, got it.
Oh,
Don't
dear.
dial 222 tits.
Yeah, that's a different number. I assume that's a different organization.
It might charge you some money, so don't dial.
Yeah. Instead of collecting a reward, you are now $26,000 in debt.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, this one is just one that popped up on my radar recently because I was looking for whether solved or unsolved, some different cases that would be on theme because, like I said, sucker for a theme.
So she can depress us all during the Thanksgiving holiday.
But at least it's on theme.
Whatever.
Oh my God. Anyways, so
Tarot? All right. Doing tarot. Caitlin's attempting a shuffle and she didn't do a very good job at all.
That was good. I'm glad that the camera's angled appropriately for
You're
that.
welcome, Patreon.
Woo. Listen, if this were a shuffling podcast.
She's also doing it right next to an open flame.
I mean, listen, I like to live dangerously. Okay, here, I'm going to give this to you.
Name. You've got like the Molly ear hair going on again too over your headphones.
Uh-oh. Ruh-roh. Okay, there we go.
Okay, I'm shuffling. Do you want to talk about your beautiful tarot table setup?
I do. I'm so glad you reminded me. I knew there was a reason I told you all about it.
It popped in my head and I was like, I better say it now or we will 100% forget.
Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that I point out, for those of you that are watching on the Patreon, there's a little Easter egg somewhere here on the table that's a little bit of a hint about the upcoming Patreon Live.
Caitlin, I don't see any eggs.
It's like a metaphorical egg.
Are we doing two? I think we should do two.
Okay.
Yeah. So for the first story you'll have to remind me of her name.
Nancy. You're like, why can I not think of names? Okay. So we've got Knight of Cups. I'll let you Vanna White it because it
Knight of
almost
Cups
never
in reverse. Have we gotten this one recently?
I don't think so.
Maybe not. No. I really like it. We'll post a picture as usual.
Okay, and I went with my intuition and just pulled the card right below it.
Oh,
And, here, Vanna White.
interesting.
It never comes out right if I don't have you do it.
2 of Swords.
I am trying to avoid fire, though, so.
It's very interesting. This is for the second story, yeah?
Yes.
For the 2
I guess
people
we're
who
going to
passed
find
away.
out.
Alrighty.
Okay.
I love your little door on the table, and like the little knocker part keeps
I know.
jiggling around because
Jiggling.
we can't stop bumping the table.
Okay, so for our Knight of Cups, I almost turned right to it.
Ooh.
Okay. Keywords are communication, romance, travel, idealism, flirtatiousness. This card indicates you're totally wrapped up in romantic ideas. Because knights signify messengers and travel, this card can mean you receive a message, perhaps an expression of love from a suitor. If this knight represents an actual person, he's probably a young man with a poetic, imaginative, and affectionate nature, but he might not be dependable. Interesting.
Okay.
The Knight of Cups, we've got a little extra excerpt. It says, is the Knight of the Grail legend. The story of the Grail search is an allegory of seeking truth, beauty, purpose, and salvation in life.
Wow.
And there it is.
Yeah.
I'm like, do we even read the interpretation after that?
wow.
Of course I will.
Love it.
The Knight on a White Horse. Some decks, including the Rider Waite Smith and the Thought Tarot, show the Knight of Cups riding a white horse. A romantic description of love, the fairy tale knight on a white charger come to carry you away to a fantasy land.
Aw.
Yeah. When the Knight of Cups appears reversed, he may represent insecurity, indecision, lack of commitment, and immaturity, especially in relationships. Sometimes he represents broken promises or deceit, or an offer that's not based in reality. If he stands for an actual person, he's someone to avoid.
Sounds about right.
Wow. He's not what he seems. He may not even know himself who he is. If his intentions are good, he can't fulfill them.
Wow.
Yeah. So what's crazy about Nancy's case is Justin, his parents actually lived like right in that same neighborhood as her, which is why the police wanted to talk to him.
Oh.
And I kind of kept that out and just sort of wanted to, I don't know, it was a detail that didn't quite make the cut when I was kind of editing the notes and stuff. So
Dang.
interesting little tidbit.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, shuffling of the book. In a reading about money, this card warns, get out while you can.
Yikes.
Someone may be trying to swindle you, or an investment isn't sound. A financial advisor may be untrustworthy, or an offer is too good to be true.
Or they're trying to rob you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, exactly. If the reading is about your job, the reverse knight can show dishonesty, deviousness, or incompetence, or probably a combination of all three in our case.
Definitely incompetent.
Wow. A project may not get off the ground. If you're considering a job change, this card advises against it. I feel like she was in the job she was meant for.
Yeah.
That's interesting. In a reading about love, the knight reversed indicates secrets and lies in a relationship. A partner isn't being open or is conflicted about his or her feelings. Commitment isn't an option. This card may also say you're living in a fantasy world. Stop dreaming and get real.
Oh, well, that makes me sad.
I know. I don't know that I find a strong connection to the case with that particular excerpt, but we always kind of look for whatever insight there is to be had.
Well, I just was thinking of him in prison talking to the person and like spilling all the beans and like.
Oh, that's such
Like
a good
that.
connection.
Sorry.
Like, don't ever be sorry. I literally turned right to the Two of Swords.
Ooh, we're spooky.
Spooky. Keywords are combined resources, courage, faith, friendship, conflict, balance. In some tarot decks, this card depicts a blindfolded woman holding two swords crossed over her chest.
Mm-hmm.
Kimberly died of multiple gunshot wounds to her chest.
Oh.
Twos generally signify balance or conflict, as well as pairing. I think of the Two of Swords as the blind faith card because it can represent courage and making decisions based on your own truth and, in some cases, spiritual guidance that hopefully leads you to provide a truthful and useful tip about the case.
Yeah.
And this was upright. Okay. The upright two can symbolize balancing the right and left hemispheres of your brain, combining intuition with intellect. Drawing this card may mean you must make a decision and need to call on both. Wow. You have to make a decision. I'm like, I'm reading just tip.
Yeah.
This too can also advise you to take off your blindfold and look at a situation honestly. Wow.
It's like what you did with the whole episode. Like you were following your intuition and talking about it.
Yeah. Oh, kind of
chilly.
Is it chilly in here?
And I'm wearing a big old poofy sweater.
I know. In a reading about money, the upright two recommends trusting your own wisdom and inner guidance in a financial matter. Pay attention to your intuition as well as logic. Okay. If the reading is about your job, you may be confused or conflicted about a work-related issue. Have faith in your own judgment and ideas. Sometimes the upright two represents a job that requires both intellect and imagination.
Oh.
And I'm like
a detective.
Yeah. I literally was thinking of Kimberly because we specifically talked about how over time her kind of career goals as a young woman changed, right? And I'm like, maybe she was going to go and work as an accountant because that's a good, stable job, right?
Yeah.
But she was going to be able to do it for like a big animal hospital.
Aw, yeah.
I want that for her.
Me too.
In a reading about love, this card suggests listening to both your head and your heart. It can mean you and your partner hold conflicting perspectives or that you're trying to resolve differences and find harmony. That's so sad.
Yeah. It's crazy too that it's like a two.
I know, because there's two people that unfortunately, died as a result of the shooting and two that survived. And something about it going back and forth on the harmony or balance. And I don't know, that just like rings in my ears.
Yeah. I have a question.
Yes.
Did they say how many shooters there were? Like if there was one gun or?
They do believe it was a single shooter.
Okay.
Yeah, which is interesting because there was several shots fired, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, just looking at the Knight of Cups that I'm realizing is, White Horse, it was associating very strongly with a romantic type of gesture. And I feel like for me, I also kind of associate the White Knight with justice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Justice was served in that case. Man, it's also on this card, it's nighttime.
It does kind of look like it might be.
The moon is out.
Yeah. That's kind of wild.
Were they by the ocean at all?
Well, the area where they are in Tacoma, I don't know how close they were. They could have been staying. Do you remember we stayed up in Tacoma for P&W True Crime Fest? And so I was looking to see if the location of the house was nearby to where we stayed. Not super close. I think they were further back from like the bay than we were. So,
but still like pretty close.
You know, some proximity. I mean, all of that area of Washington is near water.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what I was thinking too. And I was like, is that just too much of a stretch?
Never. Stretch it. We want to hear all the stretches. If you have any stretches for us, let us know.
Yeah.
Downward dog.
I don't know. The other thing, you're hilarious. In the Two of Swords, the blind faith card. And I feel like that kind of relates to Nancy's case too, where you're just kind of having blind faith that at some point you'll be able to get these two guys that were involved in her crime. Yeah. So I feel like there's maybe even aspects of the card that we drew for the other case that, you know, maybe they kind of have some things that fit in with both of the. Does that make sense?
I hope it gets solved. Like, that's basically what you're getting at.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I hope so too. Also,
2002.
Oh.
It's the Two of Swords.
Interesting.
So, I don't know. And this is
2022.
The 20th anniversary.
Oh.
It's a lot of twos.
That is. Wow. I just had a lisp. That is.
Wow. I hope this is the year. Only one way to find out.
There's only 2 months left, or a month and a half left.
Yeah. It could happen.
We got this, you guys. Tips. Send in your tips. 222. Oh, did you see the realization? Like, hit both of us?
Yes. It hit you first.
Yeah.
We have it recorded, so I can't.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait to see our faces.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
All right. Well,
should we do that thing?
Our cue to go. Yeah.
Okay.
Have a creepy ass day. See you next Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Ugh. Unless you're a dead turkey. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Sorry, vegans.
So for all of you that are listening, if you have any true crime or paranormal stories that you want us to share, maybe with the whole Pacific Northwest.
Yes, we would love to read them on the pod.
Yes, we will read them out loud.
Not just in our heads.
Yes. They don't have to be from the Pacific Northwest if you would like to share. Email us at pnwhauntsandhomicides@gmail.com. It's all spelled out, no special characters. Super duper easy peasy.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Same thing as the email at pnwhauntsandhomicides, all spelled out, no special characters. Please also rate and review us on whatever platform you're listening to, and check out our stories on social media because our meme game is hot.
Agreed.
And if you agree, like Caitlin, you can also find us on Patreon and support the show.
Bitchin'.
I don't know what that is. Because I'm not a genius.
Basically, it's what it is. It's like they do like a IQ challenge thing. And so, yeah, you can be a member of Mensa. It was founded in Oxford, which, of course, is the mark of all of the fanciest and smarty-pantsiest things.
I have snorted like 10 times today. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. I hope they're not contagious.
She got the snorts.